second.
Okay.
Now you're alive.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this October 2022 City of Annapolis Environmental Commission meeting. So what pleasure to be here. So far, we have Allison, our Vice Chair, and Jeremy Hansen. And maybe if you all just want to go around and introduce yourself. My name is Randy Kenyatta Rao Jr. I'm the Chair of the Commission and resident of Ward 8, Eastport. Anyone want to go next?
Hi, Allison, Vice Chair, Ward 7.
Paul Murphy, longtime member, Ward 2.
Jeremy Hansen, member, Ward 5.
Racine Hodo, City of Annapolis.
And hope that we were all able to take a look at the minutes, and we got to look at those. So can we approve those minutes with the vote?
I will, if I can and still have quorum, I should abstain since I wasn't at the last meeting.
Okay.
I think 3 out of 5 is still quorum, right? So I'll move to approve the minutes from September.
Paul will second.
And I third that. So we'll approve those there and move right along here. Thank you, Racine, for putting that together for us.
Randy, do we also need to approve the July minutes?
Yep. Yeah, we do. And
I can move to approve the July 2022 meeting minutes.
I'll second that. Oh,
I forget it was if I was I was there for July, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No objections from me.
Cool. Wonderful. And so moving right along. Our agenda, and I hope everybody was able to get a chance to get it. Sorry for the late aspect. I thought I had it attached and didn't have it attached. As far as our reports from committees or members, we have been decided to wait till we get more of a full group to really dive into our committees or members, our subcommittees and groups in our commission. So we'll just kind of say, just if you haven't already, just take a look at that priorities list and really kind of see where you see yourself fitting in, what categories or what theme you want to attach yourself to. That way each month you can report out on that particular scope. Do you have anything else on that regard, Allison?
No, Mr. Chair, I would just ask, and Racine, I don't know if you have any information on this, maybe we should reach out to Hillary, but do you have any information on whether or not we can expect any new AEC members in the next few months?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for you. I was going to talk to Hillary today. I forgot, honestly. I apologize about that. And I was going to check with her today, but she was not in the office. So I don't have an answer.
Okay.
I did talk to Hillary. I did give her pass over two recommendations to her, and hopefully we'll hear some response on that soon. But I did find 2 very likely hopefuls in the city limits. So I did pass that information on, and she did respond. So I guess she took it from there in regards to communicating with those candidates. So that is good. I did want to mention that the possibility of, and it's something I guess we can talk about, but the possibility of having an in-person meeting coming up in the future. And then that could be an opportunity to invite new members to meet everyone, things like that, or potential new members as well. What do y'all think about that?
Just to let you know, I also am a liaison for the Conservancy Board, and they are having an in-person meeting. I don't know that they're going to do it all the time, but at least they'd like to, do it for a change for their next meeting. So if you'd like to do an in-person meeting, you can let me know, and I can book a room for you over at Pitt Moyer.
Okay, great. Well, we'll just, just something to think about, and I think it would be cool to do. Doesn't mean that we would go back to in-persons forever. I think it could just be like a one-off thing, and in the future months we can go back to doing things virtual. Maybe it could be like every 3 months, something like that. Every other month, maybe something, so that get some in-person activity. But that's something we can just continue to think and talk about. And so moving right along.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
Hey, how you doing, Bill?
Pretty good.
That's great. So we were just mentioning about, did you hear what I said about the possible in-person meeting?
I did.
Okay,
That would be fine with me.
cool. Maybe it could be like in December. I don't know if we plan on meeting in December, but maybe we can have like a little holiday, cheer, bring some snacks and stuff like that.
Speaking of future meetings, November, the meeting in November is the 23rd, which is the day before Thanksgiving. Do you want to keep that date for your meeting, or do you want to try to find another time?
What do y'all think?
We should probably find another time.
I think so too.
Good idea, yeah. Okay, so we will, is there another, let's see, the Wednesday?
Well, I think we're gonna have to come to you with a couple dates because it's gonna be dependent on availability. Other commissions and boards meet at their regular times. So I will ask Hillary about this and get back to you on it.
Okay. All right, moving right along. And you all know where to go to look at the priorities list, right? The 2022 priorities.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so new business, Alderman Savage presented some turtle-friendly curb legislation that he kind of wanted to get the commission's feedback on. I received a couple feedback. If anybody has any thoughts or wants to send something over to me to send to him, or you can send to him, feel free. But if anybody want to weigh in, I know I did get Allison's feedback, which is really, really good.
Yeah, for folks who may not have seen that yet, my comments on the legislation was, one, it could be expanded to include maintenance, not just new construction of curb and sidewalk construction in the city. I felt like since we're already to a point that we're pretty developed, that we would more likely have maintenance projects versus new construction of sidewalks. So I think that would expand the scope of the legislation. And then also in researching this concept of turtle-friendly curb and gutter systems, I came across some information from the state of Minnesota DOT, which suggested graded inlets versus the side box inlet type sewer drains. So thinking about if a turtle gets stuck in a gutter, it's just going to keep following it down and then fall into the sewer drain. So I'm not sure what the prevalence of those are in the critical area relative to some of these other graded things. I know in my community that there are a lot of graded drains. But that was just something else that I put forward to Alderman Savage to consider installing those similarly during new construction or maintenance projects around the city. So those were my comments on the legislation so far.
Yeah, I like the idea of, I don't have any in my area, graded drains, that is. I like the idea because it prevents trash and other debris from getting in there as well, but it does require more maintenance. Where you can back up your rainwater, stormwater.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. We'll keep an eye on that, and as input comes in, we'll keep it updated on it. Let's see. The plastic bag memo, we wanted to try to get that voted on and out the door. Is that right, Allison? So we can get that sent out.
Sure. By this point, I hope you guys have had a chance to take a look at it. It's something that was on our 2022 priorities list to research and provide recommendations on the ban on single-use plastic bags in the city. So I did do some research on that and also included some information from the presentations that we received from Sierra Club and others who came to talk to our commission to put forward some information and recommendations for the city council and the mayor's office. Mr. Chair, I could share my screen if you want me to do that and run through it real quick, or do you just want to open it up for discussion?
Sure, you can. How about we do the first and then the second?
Okay. So I'm just going to share my screen. This is on our Google Drive, so you all can access it as well. But so basically, there's sort of some of the background information on why plastic bag bans have been implemented in the past, talking about plastic pollution, chemicals, other hitchhikers like diseases. Summary of some of the plastic bag bans in other municipalities in Maryland and the sort of DMV region, including Westminster, Chestertown, Tacoma Park, Baltimore, DC, Montgomery County, and Howard County. Then a section on legislation that was previously introduced in Annapolis with the original legislation in 2007. And then the legislation from 2020, the two bills, one by Alderman Savage and one by Alderman Schandelmeyer, just as some history and background on the subject. And then there's a section about the recent Attorney General opinion about the ability of non-charter municipalities being able to charge a fee related to plastic bags. I know there was some discussion around that when the 2020 bills were put in, so it included some excerpts from the AG's opinion on that. And then some recommendations. Obviously, these are ones that I pulled out from our discussion and from what we heard, but would welcome folks' thoughts on these if they're not consistent with what we would want to put forward as a full commission. One is to clearly define the different types of plastic bags that are being referenced in the legislation. I think we heard from our presenters that if you put in a specific definition, that sometimes they'll just resort to a thicker but still sort of single-use plastic bag. Exclusions, so it doesn't list specific exclusions, but trying to reduce the number of exclusions to those that are, necessary and most logical, and not just add in a bunch of exclusions, because then it dilutes the effectiveness of the ban. And then businesses affected. So previous legislation in Annapolis excluded a very large number of businesses based on a square footage threshold. And so this just says that that square footage threshold should likely be removed if we want it to actually have, a significant effect on the usage of single-use plastic bags in the city. So I just put that forward for everyone's consideration, discussion, and then hopefully a vote either to move it forward to the city council or not.
Okay. Anybody have any thoughts on it? Personally, I think it's definitely well put together. I think it'd be a great recommendation from us.
And Allison, thank you for the work you put into that. And I agree with you. It's important to anticipate, mild objections and come up with solutions. So, when city council puts this up, it doesn't get shot down by a bunch of people. Because we've run it twice. It was in 2020, we stopped because of COVID. Just burden on businesses and single use instead of contaminating. But I'm just trying to think of what the objections would possibly be, and if we can address those ahead of time, that would be good. Cost is of course one issue, and I'd like to have some solutions for people. Like we've spoken about this for years. The merchants, whether it's West Street or Main Street or SoFo, could get together and design a nice looking reusable bag that wouldn't be too expensive, but durable enough to be worth using. And if they, order them together and get a big batch, that knocks down the cost a lot. And, part of this is just modifying people's habits.
Yeah, that's a great point, Paul. And I think too, the other thing that helps us at this point is there are so many other municipalities who have been able to make this work successfully. And I think showing that it's working in other municipalities. Since I wrote this memo, actually, the town of Easton in Talbot County actually passed plastic bag ban and fee as well. So it's going around anyway. And some of these, I think, have some ideas that we could pull from, where the retailer keeps a portion of any fee, like a 5-cent fee. The retailer keeps a portion of that, so it helps offset the cost to the businesses.
Yeah, what I recall saying back in 2020, I don't think this should be a profit center for the city. And I definitely don't want to be one of those. It doesn't happen as often as people see, but the press has a field day where, we spend a nickel to collect 3 cents. So does the city really need to collect any money from this? I don't know why.
Yeah, so my understanding of the fee is not to be a revenue generating source. It's to encourage people to use the reusable bags, because otherwise people just shift to single-use paper bags instead of shifting to a durable reusable bag. So it's not meant to be a revenue generating mechanism. It's meant to be an incentive to shift people over to change behavior, basically.
Yeah, I understand that. So there's a fee on the bag. Some of the money goes to the retailer. Is there anybody else thinking they should receive a portion of the revenue? Or should it just go to the retailer only?
Well, some of them don't include a fee. So here, Chestertown, Tacoma Park, and Westminster are bans only. And then others, Montgomery County, Howard County, DC, 1 cent is retained by the retailer and the remainder goes to the municipality for recycling programs. And then I believe, I'll have to look back at the town of Easton. I think that one, the majority of it goes to the retailer, and then a very small portion goes to the municipality.
So I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Allison, the so for DC and I think you said Howard County, maybe. Right. So they're not banning plastic bags, they're just charging for them.
Right, so in those municipalities, yes, it's a fee. So there's a fee system, a ban without a fee, and then there's a ban and a fee. So there's sort of three different approaches.
So maybe what we do, basically, of my personal principles is no revenue to the municipality. If they need money for offset recycling programs, let's try and find that elsewhere. But have the city receiving some money. I'm not saying this ban's going to be completely unpopular, but any change is going to have some resistance. Most people will want it, but there will be some voices against it. And I don't want it to be thought of as, the government trying to make money. So I would say no money to any municipality. And if the ban with no fee is working reasonably well, maybe what we do is just let the retailer make that choice. I have one grocery store and I charge a nickel, and Bill's a hipper guy than I am, more enlightened, and Bill's store does not charge, just provides it as part of their business. So let the business have the option, no money going to the government.
So right now, this section of this memo currently doesn't speak to that. Is that something that you all would want added as specifics? The recommendations don't address specifically whether it's of a ban and a fee, or a ban or just a fee.
I like the way it's laid out where we just, the recommendations are just about the environmental impacts, just this is what we recommend, and leave the fee aspects to the council. I mean, you've laid out pretty nicely the different variations of the programs, and I think it's up to the council members to sort out these issues Paul's raising, which I think are important considerations, but I don't think we have to weigh in on that.
I think it is a very important distinction, though. If I recall, Alderman Savage's legislation really did significantly limit the number of businesses affected. So by removing that restriction, that's quite a big change. One that I'm in favor of, but it is quite a big change to his original legislation.
Yeah, and so here it is, Bill. It was facilities greater than 20,000 square feet. I did not sort of fact check the information that we received, but I think that was information from the presentations that we got that would have brought it down to like 4 businesses that would have been subject to this.
20,000 square foot is massive.
Right.
Backing up, I agree the city council makes the decision, but I'm okay, and I think they look to us a little bit, and maybe we're not making a final recommendation, but say, here are 2 or 3 options, which Allison's laid out. And again, I think the one that is most market-based, if I can use that term, sort of loosely using that, city collects no money. I'm pretty adamant personally about that. And 2, leave it to the business. If you go to a high-end store, selling at big margins, and they want to give you a free bag, well, let the Bill O'Leary store do that, because they're very cool. And if somebody else is selling at lower margins and they need to charge a nickel, let them charge a nickel. Leave it up to the business. But we are getting rid of single-use plastic.
So okay, sorry, Paul, could you clarify really quickly, because I wasn't following that. You said if the store wants to give you a bag, are you referring to a reusable bag? Because right now the fee is on the single-use bags. You're not saying they would give out single-use bags to people for free, right?
Correct. Correct. I would put a ban on single use.
Plastic.
And so that brings up a question, Allison. Are some of the municipalities allowing you to use single use, but they charge a fee?
Yes.
Okay, so I see what, I was trying to do something where it was less forceful, but I'm wrong because I hear, so no, single use cannot go free. So what my idea was nice on reusable bags, but you're correct. If we're going to modify behavior, we got to put a fee on a single use bag. And it's probably better to put a fee on it than to completely ban it, right? I'm just trying to do as much carrots instead of sticks. So you put a fee on the single use bag, which should bend behavior. And then it's what I brought up was a moot point. If the very hip high-end store wants to give out free reusable bags, and maybe over purchases $50 or whatever, let that business figure that out. But yeah, I guess we need a fee on single use.
No, I kind of like Baltimore City's, you ban plastic bags and you charge a fee for paper.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were talking about, and that looks like that's what Easton did as well. But they
Thanks
have a lot of exceptions for items.
Yeah, thank you for looking that up, Jeremy. Fact checking me there. I couldn't remember the details for Easton. So to me, it feels like we have some, different ideas about how this could be implemented, which is sort of why I was feeling that as long as we could agree on some of the guidance that's in here, that then further development of legislation by the city council, we could engage on at that point. But I don't know, but that would assume that you guys are comfortable with this moving forward as it is, with a further interest in working with council members to iron out the details when and if it comes forward. But I don't know if folks are comfortable with that
I
approach.
think that's a good approach. One thing I would also think about adding is if this does get passed, if there's ever a bid out process for the vendor that is going to contract out to provide these bags, that maybe it could be a minority owned contractor, just a preference there for that. What do y'all think about that?
Well, I would let the Main Street, West Street, SoFo, West Annapolis, fill in the blanks of other business districts figure that out. If they want to get together and combine purchasing, or if SoFo wants to do their own little project, and for all I know, maybe there's a bag business in one of those districts and they use the local guy. So I think it's a little early to it's a good point, but I don't think we know enough to overly paint that situation.
Okay. Anybody? Okay, so what do you think? Do you all want to vote to approve to send it out? Is that what we're voting on, right, Allison?
Yeah, I'm happy to have someone make that motion if they agree that it's ready for prime time.
Well, can we clarify, are we voting ban on plastic bags or a fee on single-use plastic?
Right now, the AEC recommendations section does not specify. It just says, we believe there need to be clear definitions, as limited a list of exclusions as possible, and the businesses affected should not have that $20,000 square foot or 20,000 square foot threshold. It doesn't specifically say that the AEC is supporting a ban, a fee, or both.
Okay.
I would strengthen that recommendation to say that we should ban plastic bags.
Yeah, and personally, I'm not against that. I'm just trying to, not burn, if I can use the word, political capital or, whatever on fights. And what we could do, crawl before we walk or walk before we run, is put a fee on it for a couple years with the intention that a few years from now, we do an outright ban. I'm not saying which is best. I'm just looking for a smaller fight than a bigger fight on the people that are going to complain about it. And I'm not saying they're right. I'm just, trying to make the fight smaller. So what one option is, put a fee on it for a couple of years. And if we don't feel behavior is modified enough, or even if it is modified enough, we just put a ban on it in the future. So kind of a yellow light before we give them a red light.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple different options you could go about there. I mean, you could even go as far as to say, if there is a cost, maybe some of those, percentage, 50% of that ban fee or plastic bag fee could be towards some nonprofit, local nonprofit or something like that. Just to make the deal even more sweeter, as far as how it sounds, how it comes off. But yeah, I'm comfortable with moving on with it. So we can take a look. Do y'all want to take a further look, or Allison, do you want to add in some of those suggestions, or do you want to how do you want to go about it?
So I think we have two paths forward. We can either go ahead and have a motion and take a vote on the memo as it stands, knowing that because there seems to be several different ideas as to how strong the actual implementation of any type of legislation should be. So we could keep it to where it is now, where we're kind of silent on ban versus fee versus ban and fee. Or what we could do is I could add another section that just is not necessarily, listed as AEC endorsed recommendations, but rather what we would label it considerations or, possible ideas for, how this could be configured. And we would add in Paul's idea of fee only, Bill's idea of a plastic bag ban. And we sort of add that in. If we're not going to endorse one of those specifically sort of by consensus or by vote as this group, then we're sort of just, in my opinion, we're sort of just repeating these different types of structures that other groups have implemented. So I don't know if it brings any additional information to the table, but I'm open for folks if they feel differently about adding in a new section that sort of outlines some of our different ideas.
Well, I would like, I don't feel I know enough of all the ramifications. I mean, you've given us good background, Allison, but obviously it's up to the city council to make the decision. But I do know that several times different city council members have encouraged us to be more complete, not making a final decision, but what they're looking for our feedback. So if we say, here are your three options, and here's what we think are some of the pros and cons of that, they like that. So we're just kind of doing the research or, helping them summarize a position paper. And, if we say you could go full ban, but if that's not going to play well to too many business owners, let's put a fee on and know that in a few years we can institute a ban. So I'm trying to give more information and more advice to the city council, but still letting them make the final decision.
Yeah, I think this also gives way to a further discussion. So later on, those aspects could be kind of deliberated and such. So I do think that as it is, it would kind of lead to further discussions of more of those kind of further details. What do y'all
So-
think?
My suggestion or thought is the final sentence in the current like opening paragraph. Maybe just cut that there and drop it at the end after those recommendations, and just modify that sentence a little bit just to say, you know, we urge you to take up this issue, stand ready to answer questions and provide feedback. And I don't have specific wording right now, but just to reflect like the fact that we have other ideas, and there's aspects of this that still have to be worked out, and we're open to work with them and as they respond to other constituents as well. Something to that effect. I'm sorry, I don't have specific language.
That's a good idea. And
So
then
what I
also-
can do is I can add another section which sort of lays out some of the discussion that we've had tonight about kind of the pros and cons, and then move this to the end of the memo. And our folks, I just don't want to hold this up too much. So I'm just wondering, Mr. Chair, if you would be comfortable with us, and if everybody on the phone would be comfortable with the changes as discussed tonight, kind of moving this forward to city council once those changes are made.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Everybody okay with that? Or
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I'll motion for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in favor of sending something. I will continue to say that I do think that our recommendation as the Environmental Commission, with our charter being the concern for the environment, should be to recommend a ban on plastic bags. But I understand we need to, you know, walk before we run, as Paul says, so.
and another thing to think about is kind of how this legislation, what's the financial implication of this legislation, especially during inflationary times we're in for people that have limited resources.
They get a reusable bag.
Right, I mean, the financial burden for people who already are lacking resources, what this could mean for them.
Right, but, you know, at some point, you know, a couple of things. A reusable bag does not cost that much. There are plenty of events, and there can be more, right? Nothing wrong with the supermarket or whatever business wants to cater to maybe that segment of the market. That company can go out and give them free bags, or, you know, maybe we, you know, Care First, Blue Cross gives out bags, other people. I think we can get some bags, but as people were saying, we don't want too many exclusions in this, you know. It's silly only to have it for 20,000 square feet and above, but I think there can be some effort, and maybe the business associations, you know, they're going to go make 10,000 bags. Maybe they make 11,000.
Did we lose you there, Paul?
We lost Paul.
I think we did.
That can be part of, Randy, I think that can be part of some of the pros and cons that we include here. And I'll just add that in Baltimore City, the city did a lot of outreach rolling this out, and I think provided plastic bags at community events, and like reusable bags at community events and things like that. So that could be something that we include in there.
Yeah, I agree. That
I'm sorry, guys. I walked too far away from my Wi-Fi. I'm out keeping Smokey occupied. I don't know where you lost me, but I'll try and be succinct. For those under more financial stress, I think whether it's Care First or some other large entity or a store that wants to market to that segment could give out, you know, well, Lita or whatever the supermarket, you know, whatever business, a business could do that. We can hit the big dogs like Care First or maybe the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. And again, if the business community is going to print 10,000 bags, maybe they would get them to print 11,000 bags. The unit cost is not much, and those bags can be distributed to those who are concerned about the cost of a reusable bag.
Um, okay, so.
So I think Jeremy had made a motion, but it hadn't gotten a second.
Yeah, second motion. Yeah.
I'm in favor.
Yeah, all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
All right. Thank you all. So I will make these changes as we discussed, and I will let you all know when this goes to city council.
All right, so good. Thank you.
And not to belabor that point, but I am looking at Easton's exceptions, and they seem pretty reasonable. Fresh fish and meat and things like that, and ice and dry cleaning and some other things are accepted. So it seems pretty reasonable.
Okay.
All right. Moving right along. So we ready to move on? You good, Allison?
Yep. Thank you.
Good. And another thing that on the agenda, that I sent out the city's hazard mitigation plan. Nobody asked AEC for comments on this, I don't believe directly, but I did see that it was suggested that people give comments on it, and I figured that, well, I mean, it fits the description for something that could definitely come across our desk. So maybe has anyone seen this before? The city's hazard mitigation plan?
I have not.
Okay. You had the link to it, Paul, right?
Yes.
It's on the agenda. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
So this may be something to check out, and we could maybe give some thoughts to at our next meeting. Looking at some of the environmental aspects of it.
And I'm just noticing on the website you sent out, they say there will be a virtual meeting in November, but there isn't a date or time. But there is a way to sign up to become a project stakeholder. So I assume when they do schedule that, they'll email those people on that list. I don't know if Racine you would know because you're not OEM, but
that's an OEM thing, and I don't know how they're organizing that.
I'll sign up either way.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how that works, how I even can, but yeah, we'll get to, and I was actually even thinking that, the person who's handling this could even come in and talk about it at our next meeting, as well as the new stormwater director. I'm not sure what her title is. Racing, do you know her title?
Yeah, her name is Betsy McCune, and she is the new stormwater program manager. So she is heading up the Department of Public Works stormwater program. She has 2 stormwater engineers under her. And she has actually, 2 environmental compliance inspectors, and those are the inspectors that go from construction site to construction site and enforce the erosion and sediment control measures. And she's responsible for reporting out for the city's annual MS4 permit to MDE. And that's just in a nutshell what she's doing, but I'm sure she's doing a million other things as well. And then what was the other? There was a new, there's a new stormwater engineer. Her name is Jasmine Wilding. There's a new environmental compliance inspector. His name is Patrick. I know it's Patrick. I can't think of his last name.
And there was also a new guy that was accepted at the meeting yesterday or day before yesterday. Yeah, his family came up. I think he was in an acting position already.
In the Department of Public Works?
I think so. Yeah, is that who that was?
It was the transportation director.
What? Say that again.
Transportation director was just
Transportation. I couldn't. Transportation. Okay.
Transportation.
Right. That's what.
That's Marcus Moore. He's
Right.
actually going to be sworn in tomorrow. If anyone
Okay.
wants to attend that, I'm sure. you
Well,
can-
I saw something a couple of days ago. I guess that was like not necessarily a sworn in thing.
no, that was just their vote to approve him.
Okay, guys. And I was also thinking about inviting him to come in at some point to talk to us at a meeting as well. So maybe we could talk about what his agendas are and their plans for the future, and we can see how both of the stormwater program director and the two environmental compliance managers, just how all of their scopes or visions for the future may tie into our priorities. I'm sorry, go ahead, Allison.
I did want to just talk about the mitigation plan really quick. I did take the public survey, which I think they wanted feedback by October 14th, but it was still open and available. So I don't know if my feedback was going to be recorded, but I did this Survey Monkey link. I did participate in the public survey. It's really easy and quick. You don't have to be an expert. It's just more about our perceived hazards around the city. So I encourage folks to take that public survey if they haven't already. I do think this is an important place for the AEC to engage, because we would have the opportunity to bring forward ideas specifically related to like natural and nature-based infrastructure solutions, blue and green infrastructure, as opposed to just gray infrastructure updates, which a lot of this is focused on protecting infrastructure and retrofitting infrastructure, and all of that is obviously going to be necessary and a part of how the city is going to have to change and adapt to existing hazards and new hazards. But I think that by engaging in this process, we might have an opportunity to also include some different approaches than what have been used in the past, so that we can get the co-benefits, environmental co-benefits that go along with that, in addition to protection from these environmental hazards. So hopefully there will be an opportunity. I, like Jeremy, signed up to be on the stakeholder list. Hopefully there'll be an opportunity for us next month to participate in whatever the next stakeholder meeting is. I did look at the meeting notes from the last meeting, and there weren't a lot of members of the public there. It was mostly just folks from city, county, DPWs, and other agencies. So if there's an opportunity, hopefully we can continue to engage on this as it moves forward.
Also, if you'd like to invite someone to speak about it, the person that you want to contact is David Mandel. He's heading that up he's heading up the hazard mitigation plan in the emergency management, the city, and the OEM.
Okay, if you could maybe just shoot me the email for him if you have it.
Yep, I'll
You get
send
a
it to
chance.
you. I'll send it to you.
And the stormwater program director's email if you have that too.
Okay.
Racine, Betsy McEwen's name is familiar. What was her background?
Betsy is from San Francisco. She's
Oh.
got about 20, 25 years experience in stormwater. She's an engineer by training. And that's what I know. She's
Okay.
been,
So
she's been-
if she's from San Francisco, it's not, I thought she was a local, so I withdraw my question.
okay, she's been with the city for, I'd say about 3 or 4 years now.
Okay, so I stumbled across her name. Okay, thank you.
Moving right along. We don't have Jackie here tonight, but Racine, would you want to have some time to report out on any of
Yeah.
the aspects?
Yeah. Replant Annapolis, I contacted Suzanne Etkin to get some feedback, and she asked Rob to actually give me feedback on where the planting projects are so far. But Rob has not gotten back to me yet. I will report back to the AEC via email once I hear back about Replant Annapolis and the progress that they're making with their planting projects
So,
for trees.
so are they the ones handling the planting projects, the Replant Anne Arundel group?
No, there is Replant Anne Arundel and now also Replant Annapolis.
Right,
But
right.
the Watershed Stewards Academy works with both entities.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what I'm aware of Replant Anne Arundel. I was just wondering who was managing both. So you're saying someone from the WSA is
Yes.
managing the also the case?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. New stormwater director, that is Betsy, and it's a stormwater program manager is her title. New transportation deck director is Marcus Moore. He's being sworn in tomorrow. The Gateway project, I have spoken to Eric Lashinsky, and he has agreed to come to the AEC and give an overview of the proposed Gateway Park project at the next meeting in November. His schedule would not allow him to be here today to talk about it, but he's gonna, so if you could put him on the agenda for next for the meeting in November, and if you could put him kind of at the beginning of the agenda so that he doesn't have to sit through the entire meeting. He's really a busy man, and I would hope not to take up too much of his time. Maritime expansion, that's Alderman Savage. He's not here tonight. Hawkins Cove is where it was left the last time I gave an update, where the RFP, they're still working out the details of the RFP. At that point, the last time we spoke about it, it was being held up by the Chesapeake Bay Trust. Chesapeake Bay Trust has given their okay on the RFP, but now that we have received the $500,000 from the National Wildlife Federation for the living shoreline, they want to take another go at the RFP in defining the scope of what the $130,000 that we already have will be spent on, which is how much of it is going to be design. Is it all going to be design, or maybe some of it's going to go to construction, or what is going to be included in the work that that $130,000 is going to pay for.
And if there is okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mentioned it before, if there's any way that could be put in there to make a preference for minority-owned contractors with all of the
Yeah,
contractual work involved with that project.
yeah, I know with the city, there's nothing in our code that states that there's a preference for minority or like women-owned businesses. And the policy is that they don't show preference, or that the city doesn't show preference toward any vendor. But I have seen when the grant funds come in, that the granting agency will have a preference, state that
Right,
they have a
right.
preference for minority-owned businesses and so on and so forth. But I mean, that's where that stands.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't more so mentioning that on the city side. I was more saying from the grantee side, as a warden of the grantee itself can make their own preference themselves.
Right,
Like that.
right,
This is what they will preference, especially since it's in a historic Black community, in an environmental justice community, underserved community. The best practice is to have all of the vendors and money that's being spent with those development be of those same.
right.
demographics.
I completely understand where you're coming from. I was just explaining, how it stands right now.
So somebody would have to basically mention that and say, this is what they want to do. And
Yeah,
pretty much-
that's my understanding right now.
Who is the person that would make that call?
Honestly, I don't know if it would be like the city manager or the mayor. I don't know that any directors of the different departments and offices throughout the city can make that call. So my first thought would be it would be the city manager.
Right. Okay, I was just throwing that in there.
Yeah. The MER project is, I spoke to Jackie. She gave me a really short synopsis today of what's going on with that project. They have chosen 10 projects to focus on, and that is as they pertain to resiliency. And now that those projects have been chosen, they are now working with subject matter experts on fine tuning those projects and what they're going to entail. Once that's all done, the next step is to write a report on the whole project itself. I guess there are some grant funds for this project, and that the end of the grant period is January 2023. So the report would be done prior to that time. And I think that's what she said. That's all that I have on the MER project.
Okay.
And I don't know what Quiet Waters, what that's referencing.
The construction development that's going on at Quiet Waters.
Yeah, Jackie would be a better person to ask about that. I saw an email recently, but honestly, I was going through my emails and I didn't check the date on the email. I think it's been relatively quiet over there. But we have had some rains. So the project that is right next to Quiet Waters, the Parkside Preserve, all I know is that the environmental compliance inspector goes there twice a week to look at things and make sure everything's all buttoned up.
Okay.
Allison,
Who does that, you said?
The environmental compliance inspector, that's Charlie Brown,
Okay.
and the new guy, Patrick. I just can't remember his last name.
If you could shoot me their emails if you get a chance to, I think that, just want to check in with them, introduce, maybe they could offer feedback or input on things as well.
Okay,
And what about Rocky Gorge? Did any update on that?
I don't know what, I don't know what's going
So
on with
Rocky
that
Gorge
project.
project.
Well,
okay.
I know the project, I just
Oh.
don't know any, I don't have any updates on it.
I'm sorry, Allison. Let's see. I had that.
Yeah, so thank you for those updates, Racine. I appreciate it. And I also wanted to say thank you for sharing the development project list with us. That's super helpful in terms of trying to keep track of things as they continue to move forward. For the MIRR project, you said that they had selected 10 and were working with subject matter experts. Is it at a point where that would be something that you think we could see what the preliminary projects are, or is that still not available for public consumption?
Let me check for you and get back to you.
Great, thank you. And then I just had a quick question, and if this is something you don't know off the top of your head, that's totally fine. I'm looking at the development spreadsheet, and I just needed some help interpreting it. Basically, does the first action indicate kind of when the initial permits were approved for a specific development, or where should we be looking if we're interested in when the permits were initially approved for a project? I know some of the projects that just kicked off recently were operating under permits that were maybe administratively continued because of COVID. I'd be interested to know from this development list if the information is there as to when permits for projects were initially approved versus when the projects began actually hitting the ground.
Okay, so if you were to print out that spreadsheet, it would be on an 11 by 17, and it would probably be about 10 pages.
Mhm.
So having all that information in there, it's just a lot of information to put into the spreadsheet.
Sure.
So in the spreadsheet, you have there are track it project IDs.
Mhm.
And so if the permit has been approved, it will say permit approved, but you would have to go in to track it to get any details on that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
But you can use those IDs like SP dash, 2002-01 or whatever they are. You can use those in eTrackit to look these projects up.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Racine.
All right, thank you, Racine. Okay, Jeremy, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I saw something about the city that we got a new sustainable Maryland certification or higher level version of it. And Racine,
Yeah.
I saw your picture in something, whatever. I think it was
Yeah.
like Maryland Municipal League. So I just wanted to make sure we give
Yeah.
you kudos for that and give you a chance to talk about that.
Thanks. I appreciate that. This will be the third year that I've worked on the certification for the city. The certification is good for 3 years. It is with Sustainable Maryland, and that they work very closely with the Maryland Municipal League and the University of Maryland. And it's a sustainability certification. Until this year, there was only one level, and that was a bronze level. They since realized that cities like Annapolis, quite frankly, had a lot more going on that that could be acknowledged in a second level, and they now have a silver level. And so in order to attain either level, you have to put together a certain number of points. For the bronze level, it's 150 points, and for the silver level, it's 400 points. The city has always exceeded the last time, in 2019, that we did the certification, it was bronze only, and we only needed 150 points, and we had like 450 points. This year is silver. I think there were 18 new municipalities that were certified this year. I don't know, I won't say new, but there were 18 that were certified this year, and 9 of them were silver, and City of Annapolis was one of those that obtained the silver rating. The sustainability, it covers so much. I should have this on hand for me to list out what it covers. It goes from working, whether the city has green schools or schools that are part of the green schools program, to community gardens, to greenhouse gas reports, or carbon footprint information, transportation, natural resources. It's all encompassing, and we did really well. And so we're good for till 2025.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thanks, Racine. I did have one other thing as wasn't related to that, so I can wait if other people had questions about that program first.
Sure.
Well, again, not hearing any other questions for your scene, just great job. And I did notice just sitting here, I looked up the Resilience Authority because we haven't heard, I forget what the last update we heard from Jackie was. They apparently have a website now, and they had a meeting on Tuesday for their board of directors.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it doesn't say who's on the board of directors anywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't know who's on there,
Yeah.
but there's bylaws that they're deliberating. And so I'm not sure if anyone else has more information, but I just wanted to note that so that we maybe follow up with Dan Neese or someone and get them at our next meeting, perhaps.
Yeah, either Dan or Jackie would be a good source. My understanding, the last time I heard an update was that they were looking to find a director for the Resilience Authority, and that they had landed on an acting director, and I don't remember who that was. But I don't know if the website and all the changes that are taking place and the meetings that are taking place, I don't know if that they actually found a director, or if this is happening under the acting director.
Yeah, it looks like it's still the acting director of Dan Neese / Throw Environmental. But yeah, I'm just more curious, like, because I haven't seen anything listing the board of directors. So that's my main question right now. Who's on it?
I'll see if I can get some information on the Resilience Authority for you. And I'll follow up with an email to the commission.
Can you shoot me the site you're on there? Because I didn't know about that either. The way you're getting that.
Yeah, it looks like it's just resilienceauthority.org.
Okay.
I'm a little surprised they got that.
Jeremy, I can actually help you a little bit here. I actually was at that meeting and took some photos for it. It was really just a swearing in of the members. I thought they posted some things on city social media today, but I'm not seeing it just yet. But that's really all the meeting really was. But yeah, Dan Neese is still acting director, and he's there to basically help them find a director.
Okay, great. And I do see the agenda on their website, but that's all I saw. So appreciate that.
Cool. So we have anything else there? Thank you, Racine.
Yep, anytime. And I'll be following up with you, Randy. I have quite a bit of a few things to get to you and Allison. I'll get you some information about the MERP project. And when I see Jackie again, I'll check in on the Resilience Authority to see if there's anything more than what we've spoken about tonight that's going on with that.
Okay, great. So moving right along, we just got a couple more things here. And just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce our guest we have tonight. His name is Alex Smith. And it's just to kind of talk about, different aspects of the state of diversity and the Chesapeake restoration efforts, and figuring out ways to incentivize and advance environmental outcomes. And so I know a big part of the movement for environmental sustainability has a lot to do with engaging with different, more diverse audiences, and more particularly audiences that have had historic and traditional underserved communities, and underserved in the means of access to not only our natural environment, but also in the environmental workforce. So let me see if he's on here. Okay, yes, he's it. How you doing, man? So if you want to introduce yourself to the group, and you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your organization.
How's it going, everyone?
Good. Great.
Nice to meet you all. I've been listening in, and very interesting stuff you guys got going on. Keep up the good work. My name is Alex Smith. I am the owner of Division Street Landscaping here in Baltimore City. We are completely owned and operated by ex-offenders. And one of the things that we are aiming to do is to get a market share in a lot of the greening work that goes on in Baltimore City, because as the director of the director of operations, at the Baltimore Tree Trust, I saw that there was how can I word this? A lot of the nonprofits that I had worked with, including the Baltimore Tree Trust, were making claims that they were actually creating jobs with their greening efforts. But I didn't find that to be true. I found that there were some folks that were getting paychecks, stipends, but that a lot of the nonprofits and CDCs were leaning heavily on volunteer work in a city that volunteerism in a city that drastically needs to put people to work. While a lot of the projects that were being funded were being given to either large outfits that weren't from the city, or large outfits that, as a practice, didn't really hire Americans, let alone African Americans, in the city where they were doing the work. And so, I came up with this crazy idea that, maybe I could do a good job of putting some guys to work, and trying to play my part of getting some guys off the street corner and beautifying a city that we once had, terrorized, and helped to destroy. So, right now, we've been in business for 5 years. We just had our 5th year anniversary 2 months ago, and currently employed 7 folks, and 7 guys. My administrative position just got open because the person who was helping me out has said they want to retire. They couldn't get away from it, and so they started working with me. But now they just really want to go and chill, and relax and enjoy life. But yeah, that's our goal. That's our purpose. And so far, we have some pretty decent contracts. We have a contract taking care of Federal Hill here in Baltimore City. We just completed a outdoor classroom at Lily Mae Carroll Charter School. We have a tree pit maintenance contract, a citywide tree pit maintenance contract. Of course, a CBT grant. Just I am the contractor for 8 communities in Baltimore City, so we'll be planting. I'm getting back into the tree planting game. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do. You know, yeah.
And thank you for, sharing and doing the work that you do. It's very important. And, here in the city of Annapolis is something that we're trying to, look at ways we can learn from other neighboring cities like Baltimore City and things that are proven to be things that are working. And even hearing what some of your challenges are in maneuvering through your spaces. And that helps us as well. So yes, go ahead, Allison.
Yeah, I think it just kind of gets to what you were just talking about, Randy. But I mean, we heard the discussion earlier that, Racine was talking about some of the challenges with procurement rules and not favoring any one vendor over another. So I was just curious, Alex, it sounds like you have been successful in working in Baltimore City to get some maintenance contracts, some installation contracts. So is there any sort of policy in Baltimore City towards minority or small business owners that maybe we could look at as a model for Annapolis? Or maybe you're just that good at getting the contracts and you don't need that?
Well, no, I do pride myself on, beating the street and establishing relationships. If I meet somebody at a conference, if I meet somebody through word of mouth, like I'll show up, and I'll pop up anywhere, if I see that our mission is in alignment, so I've taken what Division Street is trying to do as far as Tennessee, discussing with folks, how do you actually create opportunity, and so, but they do have the MBE program, here in Baltimore City, where they, every city contract has to have a certain amount of participation from a minority business. They have the WBE program, which is the Women's Business Enterprise, which is a business that's run by a woman. And they got a couple other distinctions. I don't know them all.
I think they have one for veterans too, the VB.
And they got a bunch of acronyms. But what I've noticed a lot of times is, that it's almost if you're not the prime, it's really not worth showing up. I mean, and I even have been approached where, the prime is like, man, look, it's 3% of the contract. Like, we just want you to sign your name on this piece of paper, because it's so, you're really just getting in the way, to be honest with you, or they're just finding some busy work for you guys to do just so they can fulfill that requirement. The other thing is, because there are so little actual MBEs that do this type of work, it's very difficult for us to be able to participate in all the opportunities that go out there. And so they'll get a waiver. It's easy to get a waiver. All you have to do is say you attempted to work with somebody, or you made a call, and they'll just give a waiver because the project must go on. That happens. All of us in the industry also, I mean, this, I'm sure you might be aware of this, but all of us in the industry knows who are the real MVEs and WBEs. We know the guys who, who they really own the business, but their wife name is on the business, so they got a WB. But we don't, it's not for us to figure it out. And so it seems like it's a brighter spotlight on the small guys, that actually trying to do the work than it is on, like they got a microscope on us where the big guys get away and we all sitting there like,
Oh, shit.
like, I don't know, we with our hands tied, because a lot of these guys are our friends, and so the short answer is yes, there are programs. The long answer is I think that the MBE office doesn't do enough to weed out the real official, not just legally MBE and WBE, but the real official ones. I don't think they do enough to weed that out, and I also think they need to get out in the field more. You get certified and you never meet somebody from the MBE department. Now on a state level it's different. On a state level, you fill out an application for MBE and an inspector is coming knocking on your office door. They want to see your operation. They want to see where you're actually working out of, they're thorough, but they want you to be a part of the program. So even if you don't get it, they'll say, hey, this is what you need to do.
Do you have one for the state for MDOT?
No, not yet. So I had I applied for it, and then I had a partnership that dissolved. And to redo the paperwork, I just let it lapse so that I can file once that partnership wouldn't muddy the waters,
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Well, another reason why I wanted to invite you here is because several of us have different networks. Allison has some environmental networks. So do many of us here in this group. And I know you expressed some interest in kind of getting into some other opportunities for your business, whether it be through grants and other opportunities or projects, or furthering, more throughout the state. So that's why I wanted to have you on and, feature a spotlight on you, brother, and, salute you for your work you're doing in the communities and the trenches and all over, being an example to others that there's, you can do there's hope that you can do this kind of work. But more importantly, that, our goal as caretakers of the environment and, preserving our natural planet, it's going to take all of us. And so, if there are not more Alex Smiths in the world, that's not going to really help benefit our world entirely. And so there's a lot to do. And that's another thing that I've been really kind of honing in on, is the economic side, the economist side of the environmental industry and the workforce development, disparity gaps and things like that, because that's where the opportunities exist to help not only, from an economic standpoint, social economic standpoint, but also from getting these different aspects of environmental outcomes. So,
Randy,
mhm.
I may have the names a little bit incorrect, but was it Reverend Calhoun who had kind of a youth green environmental help clean up? I believe if they were old enough or hit certain metrics, they received a paycheck. So, and I think Reverend Calhoun, I don't know if he moved out of the area or he's on to other things, but that might be where Alex, he's busy enough, it sounds like, but his playbook, his mentorship, his advice could help build a framework to do something like this in Annapolis, kind of filling in whatever Reverend Calhoun had started.
Yeah, Reverend Calhoun, we started what's called Black is the New Green. That was the initiative we started. And I had brought to Reverend Calhoun the model for the READY program, which was restoring the environment and developing youth. And you're right, that program has since ceased, and he did move out of the area, so there's an opportunity there. And you know, Anne Arundel County has the #1 loss in tree canopy in the state of Maryland. So there's a big opportunity there to not only plant more trees, but also take care of the ones that we have. So,
Well,
invasive species removal.
I don't want to go committing Alex Smith's time, but Randy, if you could make the bridge of whatever remains, you know, the kids have been through Reverend Calhoun. Some of them have fond memories of it. Maybe they're around, you know, but if you could find some people that could pick up the pieces of that, and maybe Alex with his insight could give some advice. And also business opportunity, Alex, is if you can build another, I'll use the word arm or squad in a different geographic area, you know, you're starting to build, you've built the administrative, the back office, the processing, going through all the contracting, that stuff's burdensome. So, you know, this could be an opportunity for you, Alex, to, you know, either just as a good man, give some advice, or maybe an opportunity to help grow another little portion of your company.
Absolutely. It sounds like a good idea. One of the things that we've been doing lately, we've been getting into training folks and teaching more about the industry. You know, I used to do it just like organically, you know, while we're in the field. But we had our first cohort of the Vision Street Landscaping Academy last year, right before the spring rush. And we had 11 participants, and we had 5 folks go into the industry. But we've also started working with youth as a diversion program, because, you know, I was inspired by a guy that I saw speak when I was in Alabama, and he was basically talking about, you know, the story of Frederick Douglass, and one of his quotes it's better to raise good men and try to repair broken ones. And I'm paraphrasing, but you know, I don't want these kids to go down the path that I went down myself. And so if we can give them some exposure, some education, some employment, you know, and maybe one day we can talk about entrepreneurship. You know, we can kind of break the public school to prison pipeline, you know, and not only that, I mean, the industry needs it. There's so many unfulfilled jobs, and forestry is so many unfulfilled jobs in the land.
I agree with you.
Yep.
And Randy has solid knowledge, better than anyone else on this phone call, solid knowledge of what's the framework of what remains of Reverend Calhoun. You've got your expertise. You guys get together, and I mean, I think, speaking personally, and probably for most everybody, we agree with what you're saying. It'd be nice to hear from you and Randy in a couple of months, 6 months, whatever, and an update of seeing what you can get going. And I'm sure the city would be happy to, whether it's providing, remember, we have providing trees for free coming up next spring. That's a great opportunity to get kids into the earth, get their fingers dirty, get their hands dirty. And so I think we agree with what you're saying. I'm just thinking you and Randy could talk offline on how to take this further.
Works for me.
Sounds great. And what I'd also do, Alex, is I'll share your email and info with the rest of the group. And if you all want to share opportunities or different things or projects that you may see that Alex could be a part of, that would be great too. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but my question's a little unrelated to our discussion so far, but since we have Alex here and we've spent a lot of time over previous months and as well as today, just we like talking about trying to help or favor, give a bonus points, whatever you want to say, for minority-owned businesses or other entities like that in procurement processes. But I'm curious, since you mentioned, Alex, your organization, like a core part of your work is the previously incarcerated people and getting them back into the workforce in a meaningful way. I think green reentry is a term I've seen before. Are there ever rules or policies or questions in these procurement processes or grant applications or anything where you're, for those types of organizations especially, are there ever issues or policies that are counting against you because you're hiring formerly incarcerated people? I know individual hiring processes, there's sometimes that checkbox that really prevents people from getting in the door for an interview or something just because they're previously incarcerated. So I'm just asking if that is a problem for organizations like yours, and if there are ways the commission can maybe help try to remove those barriers within Annapolis or the county or something.
Well, I've come across it a couple of times, not as much as I expected to. Actually, like I was forming my business, I didn't know anything about the politics of all this stuff. I didn't know anything about MBE. I just felt fortunate to be able to make a living in this industry, and I felt like the organization I was with didn't want to invest as much as I was willing to invest into making it happen. And so I just took a leap of faith and started a business, thinking that I could create opportunity for folks. Now, to answer your question directly, what I found is the exact opposite, is that because we check all the boxes, I get a lot of calls saying, hey, come and do this, come and work with us. And, so we get our fair share of business that way. As far as the individuals that come my way, they don't even have a job interview. They don't have to put on a suit and come, say they're going to be on time or nothing. I say show up tomorrow at 7, I put a shovel in their hand. And that's the power of being able to own your own company. I make the rules. And so that's the other reason why I want to raise up more guys to be entrepreneurs, because nobody can do it better than we can as far as hiring other folks that have been down the path that we've been down. I mean, and one, because in today's culture, we can hardly have certain conversations surrounding this, and two, there's some things about being incarcerated and coming from a certain lifestyle that people just don't understand. It's a different culture. And so who better to understand that culture? Who better to be able to break it down and show guys, hey, just did 30 years in prison. You might not want to, buy a home at 30 years old. I mean, at 50 years old, when you don't have 30 years left of working years. So those kind of conversations we can have, like maybe we need the house hack and buy, a duplex. Like we got to work this out because your situation is different from the average person. And because I understand it intimately, I'm able to talk with folks about that. So it's a different thing. Like it's a gift and a curse, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Well,
I appreciate you, brother, and thank you for coming on tonight. We're gonna move on to the next part of our agenda. We only got like one more thing left.
no problem.
But I just wanted to give some time for that. So thank you very much. And, we'll continue to stay in touch and we'll continue to communicate. But I'm definitely happy to have you here and sharing your moment tonight with us and sharing your story. It's very important.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys inviting me, and nice meeting you all.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Moving right along, we have one more aspect in our agenda tonight, and that was pretty much just next steps. So I know that there are a few next things we want to do. Just want to, I took notes here. Just wanted to leave some time to, if anybody wants to drop anything to make sure we don't forget or make sure we want to follow up on for our next meeting. I know we have to look at rescheduling the date, so we'll be waiting to hear back from the city on some options there. I believe we'll be hearing back from Hillary, I believe, on that. And then we also going to wait to see, I guess, the email that Allison's going to send out. And that should be great. And hopefully that will be a springboard to further discussions where we can kind of get further into different implementation aspects as that develops. We also want to look at the development projects that have been sent out, and look at that to, I guess, review. I'm not sure what the date on those projects were, how the dates align as far as timing and what the timing is. But if the timing suits, we could look at some of those. And if you have a couple that's pop out that you want to bring up and talk about, you could maybe email or contact me, and I can, do some, so that when we come to our next meeting, we can discuss a few of those. We're looking at having the new stormwater program manager come next month, as well as transportation director. I think it is director. Having them come on next month and sharing what their future visions are for their departments. And again, I think it aligns very closely with what we do. So just because they're new, I feel like that's really a great opportunity for us to create that, closer niche relationship with them. And maybe we can all kind of work better together. So
Randy,
yes.
Paul speaking. I'm very interested in inner city transportation. Very interested. It just so much change can happen, and I it's great. We've got the purple buses out, right? The worst thing to do is have a normal sized bus because it looks like a stigma. So whether I thought the trolleys were best, at least they painted these things purple. They got free all over them, and they clearly and cleanly painted where the stops are. Very good signage. In addition to that, we all know, maybe it's 8 years instead of 3 years, but there's going to be more autonomous cars. And well, beyond that, we just need to make it easier to get around downtown without having a car. So micro shuttle buses, I think, are part of the answer. And my goodness, I sat with Sean O'Neill probably 8 or 9 years ago. There was an app. I won't go long on this, guys, but it shows, you guys have seen this if you traveled to other cities. There's an app where you've got the mini shuttles. They've got GPS on them. That's absolutely a non-issue these days. And it shows on your app right where they are. So they're 1, 3, 5, 7 minutes away. You don't have the anxiety of missing something. And this company just, the word they use is just reskins. It's the same software. And whether you're Sausalito or Santa Fe or Annapolis, you just put photos of your town around it in the map. And I just think there's a whole lot that can be done. And to continue on this, what I am pretty sure the success of taking away parking spots by the Market House, between Market House and the restaurants, I think that's a way better economic value of that land than just a parking spot. So in summary, I'm very interested in helping to bring forward really good, cool, fun, reliable, quick, free transportation downtown.
Right. And with the new transportation director, I think that his presence at one of our meetings, that'll be a great discussion too.
Yep. So, and for any of you who have traveled to other cities, whether it's Manhattan or a little one, any cool things like this you see, let's keep passing it forward. I mean, it's it's going to be important. Our downtown's great, but it could even be easier.
Yes, and
I think, I
Ran-
think I heard a need for reconnaissance trips there.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
I-
I'm sorry. I have to interrupt for just a second. I'm sorry. Bill can give us a very good report of Italy, can't you, William?
Yes, I could.
Okay, back to you, Allison.
I have, Randy, with your next steps, Eric Lashinsky coming to the next meeting also, to go over the proposed Gateway Park. And also, I'm sure that Marcus Moore will be playing a role in this, but the city is working on an electric mobility plan, that, includes electric buses and or shuttles and an electric ferry. But it's not, it hasn't been formed yet, but that's on the burner now, that they're working on an electric mobility plan. And I think the path of it is similar to the path of the existing shuttles that are there now.
okay. Awesome, and that again, that'll be some great topics for discussions. Maybe we could even we could each have some questions by next month to have ready for both of them. The stormwater program manager, the transportation director, and the Eric Lashinsky's with his plans that he wants to share in regards to the Gateway project. And the development projects as well. Racine, do you know when another round of those development projects will come out for?
Well, in the past, that spreadsheet was published once a month. And I will check on this, but I'm hopeful that that's what's going to happen moving forward, is that once a month, it is, they are going to be, that spreadsheet will be updated, and I can forward it to you each time that it is.
Yeah, I think the last one was, I think, a few months ago. I may be wrong, but I can't remember the date on it, but
Yeah.
okay. And then also I was asked to be on the Blue and Green Infrastructure Legislation and Policy Commission. And so I'll be sitting on that as a member. Again, just reiterating the importance of our Chesapeake Bay and environment's ability to cross lines with our state lines and county lines and city lines. So hopefully this will be an effort where I can bring other further communications and activities that are going on at the state level to our city level as well. Maybe we should have somebody from the county, maybe not the next meeting, it's look pretty packed up, but for the next following meeting after that, maybe having someone from the county come in and talk to us about all of their legislation, policy, and new activities and projects and things that they're doing. Just so as a means to, we can kind of, be all on the same page and work together more. And Vice Chair, did you have anything else?
Nope.
Chair? Okay. Jeremy, Paul, Bill, anybody?
Nothing from me.
All right, well,
I have just one question, and it would not me if I didn't ask Racine. With the electric ferry, is the city going to run that, or are they going to put it out to bid like the people who are running the water taxi now could bid on it?
I have no answer for you. I think that they're definitely, in order to purchase it, they're gonna be looking for grant funding, but don't quote me on that. I don't know how to give you an answer on who's gonna be like in charge of it and running it on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, no, I obviously, it's a decision like, so perpendicular to what we're working on here. I mean, just a completely different orbit, but I wanted to know. So it's either not, it's either you're not sure or it hasn't been decided yet. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
And maybe that would be an opportunity also to advocate, you know, maybe the commission could send something to advocate for that both of those projects be minority-owned vendors that get selected for those projects, the electric mobility and the water taxi.
Start finding people that have experience in that field and tee them up and get a bid on. But you know, the people who are going to win these bids are going to have some experience and skills in this, you know, and whatever we're talking about, whether it's landscaping or building stormwater terrace beds or running a ferry. So where you could go with that, Randy, Box of Rain. Those kids have been around the water. It's generally minority. It's 20 years old. It's super popular, well connected. And so you got, 15 years of graduates of Box of Rain. Go find some of those kids who want to and they've got water experience and they grew up in Eastport. Go find one of those that want to get on a team.
Well, I don't think they're minority owned, I don't think, but
well,
I was thinking more so the people who actually build the electric ferries or water taxis and actually are the owners of the companies that get contracted with the city. That's what I meant by minority-owned companies.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the people who build them is a completely different world that we have zero. I mean, these things are boats. You don't want people to drown. You got to buy from whoever builds a good boat. But on the second thing,
well, there's minorities that I mean, there are minority-owned companies that do this work. I don't think that's
right.
That's the issue.
Yeah. Hang on, without going too far, guys, and I'll try and wrap my little piece up. Boat building is a huge freaking issue. Okay, I know a lot about boats. But what I am saying is much closer to being able to launch and activate would be the graduates of Box of Rain who have water experience and had a great experience and Box of Rain, has good connections. Who lays the capital down? First of all, the city's out there tugging for grants, right? So why do cities get grants but small businesses wouldn't? Maybe they could get a grant. And there's people of all colors that would be happy to invest in a viable little business operation, be it a water taxi or anything else. You build a minority employment, you might attract a minority owner. So anyways,
Box of Rain is not a minority owner. So that's my only.
Well, hold on. I can't design the whole thing at once. Neither of us can. What we do need to do is start getting the troops together and get more activity on planting trees, working Box of Rain, trying to find where they can integrate into business opportunities in Annapolis. So I just think we need to start throwing spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, I was talking more so about the actual building, whoever gets contracted to build the electric ferry and the water taxi and all that, the electric mobility with the transportation department. When they hire a company to build those fleets or hire to contract to create those fleets or those companies, that those companies be Black or brown owned companies.
Well, look, I hear you on that, but the number of boat building companies within 100 miles is pretty thin. And what is way, way, way more right at our feet is the employment of local kids, not black or brown or yellow or pink kids that are, 1, 2, 3, 700 miles away. So I am more interested in getting the local employment going, which would be the people that are operating the boats. That's my point. Okay. I want kids, that I can't quite throw a softball to them, but within 3 to 5 miles, there's tons of kids, again, coming out of Box of Rain that would be, and the leaders of Box of Rain would love to connect these kids with local business opportunities. So anyways, and really that's all. I don't want to go much further. It's getting a little late. So, but that's basically my point. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just speaking more so to the actual building of the boats and the electric ferry and electric actual water taxi companies, those being I wasn't more so speaking about kids or children or anything like that.
No, I didn't mean children. I'm saying Box of Rain were children. It's been around for 15 years. So these kids are now 22 to 36 years old.
Well, Box of Rain doesn't build electric ferries or water taxis.
Randy, I understand that, and we
Oh,
shouldn't
okay.
go much further. The number of boat building facilities in the mid-Atlantic is on less than one hand, and I know none of them are electric boat ferry guys, you know, so it's going to go to someone who's already probably building stuff. But, you know, and again, there's no, unless you want to start a boat building company within 50 miles, go have at it. That's a big lift. But what we do have, regardless of where our shuttle buses, our trolleys, our e-bikes, wherever they come from, which is farther away, we have lots of kids here and young to mid adults, not just children. And I want to be clear on Box of Rain. I'm not talking about kids in Box of Rain next summer. I'm talking about the kids that graduated 15 years ago, or 10 or 7 or 3. So that's where I see a much bigger impact on local employment, because there's no electric boat building company. I volunteer for an electric boat building company at the boat show. I know a bit about this. There's no yards, no facilities building them around here. And, you know, we can't go say, well, let's start one because it's $1 million of capital.
Well,
Easy.
Seafair, there are organizations like Seafarers, I'm 1000% sure they have networks like that. So
Sure.
there are
That's
people out here. We just may not know of them. That doesn't mean that they don't exist.
I agree with that. The Seafarers is an excellent suggestion. That's another great pipeline to tap into. You know, I just had friends who moved their boat building. Tom Weaver, the Eastport 32, just moved it from Trapp, Maryland to Florida because of late. So anyways, I don't want to go into that, but we shouldn't talk about boat building on our agenda, but I do think there's room to hire kids in, whether it's this or filling in what Reverend Calhoun had started. I do think there's employment opportunities, and we need to reach out to these organizations and start putting things together.
All right. Anybody else have anything tonight? It's about 2 minutes left. All right, cool. Well, we'll get all that info out to you all, and we'll see each other next. So we'll get a date sent out. Once that date is set, we'll get that date out, and we'll put that on our calendar as soon as possible. Get that info out.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your week, and close out the month strong. I hope everybody's safe on their Halloween activities with their family and children, little ones. And if you have a pet, I hope you dress your dog up.
Don't forget to vote.
Yes, don't forget
to vote.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Take care, everybody.
Good night.
Okay, good night.
All right, peace.